And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Dr. Duaa Al-Kubaisy, Assistant Professor from Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University. She has completed her PhD in Security and Privacy Information from the University of Brighton, UK. She has provided several remote courses on the awareness and importance of privacy and data breaches and data privacy regulation. She is here with us to talk about the concept of privacy by design. Over to you, Dr. Duaa. Dr. Duaa, over to you. Welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Duaa Al-Kubaisy. I'm going to talk today about the concept of privacy by design. So I'm not sure if you are familiar with the concept of privacy by design. So we're going to have a quick preview about what's the meaning of privacy by design and why it's an important topic nowadays. So privacy by design, it's a concept address the ever-growing and systemic effects of information and communication technologies of large-scale network data system. So privacy by design, it's to keep individuals' data and identity being anonymous. And this has been recently a major issue. So we need to take into account privacy in the beginning of development our systems. So we build privacy by design to protect into data collection process. So the processing of personal data shall be allowed subject to compliance with the Requirements Act and other laws allowing disclosure information to the public and adherence to the principle of transparency, limit, and purpose of proportionality. Okay, so why we should care about privacy? Because there's a lot of companies have some data breaches all around the world. So when they lose or when their information being disclosed, they're gonna lose the trust in these organizations. And even though, the financial gonna be, for the company is gonna be low because they lost their trust. Even the reputation will be ruined. Regulatory, they have some fines because now there is like a governmental law about breaching privacy. Also, there is failing in the stock market, disclosure, and also compress of customer data. As you know, in the recent 2 decades, there is a lot of data breaches happened, such as like Marriott Group hotels. They lose like billions of users' information, even though Yahoo.com, I'm pretty sure that you heard about it. So when a company or an organization, they lose they have some data breaches, so they're gonna lose their reputation and it's gonna be a systematic fail. Okay, so as we mentioned before, the last 2 decades, they've been concerned about data privacy and how they can ensure the privacy for the users. So there is like 7 principles to consider these privacy. First of all, to be proactivate and not reactivate, preventing, not remedial. So that means we need to be cautious in the beginning of doing our system and beginning of implementation and the design stage, that we need to take care of privacy issues in the beginning of the stage even though this is going to cost us less than having it afterward. Privacy as a default setting, so we ensure with the organizations that they need to keep all the data for the users being private. So it's like a default setting, so it's not an add-on. Even though end-to-end security, full life cycle protection, that we need to be embedded privacy with security all along, from the beginning of the system, from the requirement early stage until the final stage. Also, full functionality, positive sum, not zero sum, even though we need to ensure the privacy with the visibility and transparency within using these individual data transmitted. We need to ensure that all being secured. Respect for user privacy, keep user-centered. That's mean for all organizations, when they wanted to use these data, they need to have permission from the users, and they need to put them all on the top priority. So, why it's an important topic? So we have two aspects here. First of all, we care about the individual, that the individual, they need to maintain their own data. They need to have the full control about their data, with who they can share it, with who they can, who can use it, who can view or update. And from the other perspective, from the business perspective, so how can companies use or manage these personal data? They should be also accountable for personal data they process and adhere of privacy principles. Otherwise, these companies are going to have very huge risk, regulatory fine, even though losing customer trust, investor appeal, and data breaches. So as we know that privacy is a big matter nowadays, and it's been a new regulation all around the world, and it's being monitored by government, so most of companies need to comply their strategy, even though to respect users' privacy. So, with using the privacy by design, which we said that we need to embed a privacy principle in the beginning, in the early stage of the requirements. So that's going to give us maximum efficiency, even though improved customer experience, they're going to have more trust on these companies that they are respectful for their personal data. Improved, even though the risk management, higher quality of the data, that we are taking care and control of these data. It's so valuable for us, and that's going to have let us having better marketing and improve the cybersecurity of these information. So the main aspect of the GDPR, so the GDPR is the privacy law system in Europe and the United Kingdom. So they usually they agree about the 7 principles, and even though when they were considering about the privacy by design, they care about 3 main aspects: to be fair and lawful proceeding, and even purpose of limitation. So in order of any of the user wanted to use this kind of information, accessing to these information, for instance, for patient or for a client in the banking sector. So they have a limitation to have this data. So they can't have the full access for this data in order to reduce the misuse of these data. And also data minimization and data retention, that we needed to minimize the amount of data being held through the organizations. So if we want to implement privacy by design, and as I said before, that it's going to be like a governmental law, so most organizations needed to apply privacy by design in their systems. They need first of all, to define the methodology, integrate privacy and data protection requirement as part of a project that concern the processing. Later on, we need to identify and implement adequate technique and organization measure to protect it. And then we need to integrate the support to privacy in the management and government framework for our organization by identifying tasks and defining all allocating resource and responsibility. So, how can we successfully meet the data regulation standard? Each region, they have their own privacy standard, so we need to follow which standard we are based on our location. So even though we need to be sure that we are following these standards, we need to ensure our users the reason that of us to collect these data, these kind of information, what the reason that we're going to use it, ensuring that they have the right role and responsibility set of the data management, including the focal point, a data protection officer, and analyze and profiling the data to identify and potential gaps or issuing that could cause problem to arise. Okay, so the third section, that privacy laws around the world and some statistics. So the first region that they were considering data privacy, it was in Canada, North America, and then they have the CCPA system. It's about the privacy laws, and they have some regulation to maintain individual privacy and individual information to keep it all safe, especially using information for children or who are their minor, underage, that they didn't know about these laws and they couldn't protect themselves by themselves. After that, we have the GDPR that's based in Europe and United Kingdom. They have the foundation about the concept of a privacy by design. They're trying to apply it. They started working on it since 2016. And as I was doing my PhD in the UK, we were working with a project to ensure that the companies are aligning with the GDPR principles, as we said before. So from the early stage design, we need to set up our requirements to mitigate any data leakage and to be sure that these type of information being held with the correct person, that he have accountability to use these kind of data. Even though there is another kind in South America, the LGPD, that they care about also the privacy by design. Most of these regions, they use the same principle that we already described before, the 7 principles, but sometimes based on the region, they change about some of these rules, like the minor age in the US different than the minor age in the UK or in China. We have also in the Far East, the Privacy Act being held, they invented in 2012, and also in Australia, they've been, first of all, when they think about it, it was at 1988. Okay. So about statistics and why it's an important topic to talk about, because like 4.2 billion individuals share their own data online. So we could say like 6 out of 10 people worldwide are subject to data collection. So even though like in school, universities, banking, hospitality, and health sector, all of this data is online available. So that's why it could be easily being breached. So we find with our studies that the cost of preventing data breaches, it could be more costly if we do it by the end stage development. So we would rather to have it or kept it with our following the law, the privacy laws from the beginning, from the early stage requirement phase, better than late stage. And finally, we're going to talk about the future of privacy by design. So here we have the goal is to build a map for each data point that belongs to particular identity, and that means that we are allowing companies to demonstrate their data to know what they have and where it's sorted and whether it contains personal information. So to achieve this goal, we need to have all organization, the data infrastructure, even the parts that are invisible to the organization itself. After that, the algorithms learn the data, where it's going to be located, what type of data, and whatever is belong to a specific individual. The second phase we have all automates data collection and processing. Individual customer of users can file a request to see whether a company has collected their data and what kind of data the organization has, how the company plans to use it. We should put in our minds that these data are belongs to the individual, not for the organizations, and these individuals have the right to withdraw participating with their own data anytime if they like. So the benefits of applying privacy by design, it's for financial security and also risk-aware operation, proactive posture and legalistic and cyber curves, systematic, principled internal standard, and also cost effects, privacy risk management. So to conclude my presentation is that the privacy by design is to giving the individual user more control over their data. They should know how their data being used and by whom, and for what subject, and the limitation of their data. It's all belongs to the individuals. I hope that you like my topic, and thank you very much.